The Huffington Post reports 19 things you should never do in the kitchen. Well, I can give you one right now. Don't get the sex change from female to male, because you know what they say, women belong in the kitchen. What made him snap? I don't know. The shooter at a federal building in NYC was given a raw deal by the agency that fired him, says a congressman. Congress's poor decisions might be the greatest threat to U.S. national security. 14 reasons why this is the worst Congress ever. Yes, the congressman. Yes, I do believe they are the leading experts on making people snap. The colorful, controversial world of youth MMA. Steel cages, title belts, and entourages are part of this growing sport, as are rampant safety concerns. Competitors as young as 8. Once again, I have some points to make about this. Basically, why would you concern yourself with young kids possibly learning how to fight and defend themselves against future bullies? It's the same thing with Mike Brown, Darren Wilson. It's the same thing with that woman who was beheaded by that Muslim. Darren Wilson shot Mike Brown because obviously he didn't want to get the crap kicked out of him. The manager shot the Muslim because the Muslim was about to behead someone else as well, and he wasn't going to let that happen. With that being said, nobody seems to concern themselves with the Muslims that are coming here and killing people. Shouldn't that be a safety concern? Well, I guess not, because all you people concern yourselves with is the next person being the victim of violence or racial profiling or whatever else, and you protest about it. About not that it's a big deal, it's because you're a bunch of busybodies with nothing better to do, and that wouldn't be the case if you had jobs. One more example would be a woman was about to be raped by 2 men. She stabbed one of them with a knife and got away. Use the resources and tools which are presented to you. O.J. Simpson opposing views, reports O.J. Simpson calls friends begging for money after female fans stopped sending him money. I've got only one thing to say about that. In this scenario, illegals represent O.J., and the government represents the female fans giving him money. That's all going to stop when Donald Trump gets elected in 2016. Don't dump on Trump. The perks of never having kids, reports Yahoo News. Social mores about what it takes to be a good mom put pressure on women and can result in women being less satisfied with their lives. According to a study published in the Journal of Child and Family Studies, parenting is for the long haul, says Gail Gross, a Ph.D., a family and child development author, expert and educator who was not associated with the study. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and relationships, especially between parent and child, are both complicated and messy. The fact is, a large part of your life will be focused on your relationship with your child rather than yourself. This requires a lot of patience, energy, and commitment, obligation, and responsibility for the life of another human being, says Gross. Let me inform you on something, you PhD bag. Relationship. The way in which 2 or more concepts, objects, or people are connected, or the state of being connected. If a woman has a child and wants to focus on herself, well then, it wouldn't be much of a relationship, would it? Second point, if you don't think women would have patience for one relationship, explain to me why a woman in New York City got married to 8 different men. The stereotype of the sleep-deprived new parent is an accurate one. Moms get 1.5 fewer hours of sleep each night and a lot of variability and unpredictability in sleep. According to an Australian study, in fairness, this also applies to new dads who lose sleep but are not usually able to compensate with naps during the day. Moms and dads both complain of fatigue. Sleep deprivation impacts many areas of health, including an increased risk of memory loss, obesity, heart attack, high blood pressure, stroke, and even diabetes. What I get from this is children causing lack of sleep cause heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, and diabetes is bad. But being fat also causes potential risks to having those as well, and yet we have fat acceptance. If your child goes to daycare, you can expect to pick up more germs that can spread throughout the family. Microbes are easily transmitted. It can be found on toys, blankets, cubby holes, and lockers, says Michael Schmidt, PhD, a microbiologist at the Medical University of South Carolina. Parents who've not been exposed to germs in a while sometimes get sick from their children. Primarily, you get aches, pains, flu-like symptoms, and diarrhea. The germs of concern include the norovirus stomach flu, enteroviruses, rhinoviruses, and adenovirus, all of which are easily transmitted. I think I have 2 points to make on this. The family. You already sent your kid to daycare. Who else is going to get sick besides the parents? The dog? The little brother or sister? Doubtful. This whole thing is about not having kids. The other thing is nobody is asking you to do this yourself. This is why a partnership is so vital. The mother can stay at home with the kid to avoid the hassle of daycare, and the father can work. I'm not being sexist. It's the truth. Why do you think we have Mother Nature and Father Time? The father spends most of the time working, and the mother spends most of her time nurturing as nature would. Children can impact your relationship with your partner, and not necessarily in a good way, says Gross. No family is static. If your child has problems with health, sleep, or discipline, those problems can affect your sex life and intimacy with your partner. If you're tired, worried, or stressed, it's difficult to put your feelings aside and create the ambience necessary for intimacy with your mate, says Gross. In fact, this trend doesn't end when the kids become teenagers. According to one survey, which found that 45% of parents of teenagers have sex less than once a week, and 23% admitted to no sex at all in the preceding month. Again, this whole thing is about not having kids. So if you have a kid, condoms don't work all the time, and you don't want to have another one, do you? Wouldn't you want to take the chance of having another kid accidentally? Whoa, what are we going to do? Wait for another one of these reasons not to have kids to come out again? It's clearly worked wonders. Honestly, this just seems like a narcissistic, lustful reason not to have kids. Hoisting a child on one hip as you shop, or lifting a baby out of a car seat into a supermarket cart tax your core muscles and can lead to back pain and other injuries over time. It's similar to women who carry a heavy bag over one shoulder every day, says Tom Holland, MS, CSC Connecticut, exercise physiologist and owner of TeamHolland.com. Plus, often the pain isn't immediate or specific to the lower back. You may notice shoulder or knee pain as your body compensates for carrying weights that's unevenly distributed. It's a child, not a dumbbell, but yet another reason for you to stay in shape. The cost of raising kids can put tremendous financial stress on a marriage. Financial stress is linked to a decline in well-being, according to a Gallup survey of college graduates. The cost of raising a child born in 2013 from birth up until age 18 in the U.S. is projected to be approximately $245,340. According to the latest report from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, clearly, children cost a lot of money, says Gross. Education today is at an unbelievably all-time high, and from the moment your child is born, you begin to think about how much it will cost to educate him or her. never mind clothing, medical bills, social activities, and so forth. Again, I have 2 points to make. 1, if you cannot afford a child, do not have one. And 2, college is what they mean by education, and it's unnecessary, because just send your kid to a good trade school, and a welder makes $123,000 a year. Patience, my pretties, in 18 to 20 years, you'll be able to send your kid or yourself to college. You'll be fine. Parents must deal with many stressors, including economic and emotional strains of raising children, often while juggling other social roles. Stress wreaks havoc with your body by increasing the risk of high blood pressure, decreasing your body's immune response, and even increasing healing time. When you have kids, you have other people who are expecting a lot from you. So if you're giving yourself to your kids, you're giving less to your partner, which can result in conflict, says Alan Wagner, LMFT, a Los Angeles therapist who specializes in couples. The middle phase of life is also when you're starting a career, which is stressful enough, says Wagner. Adding a family is a whole other thing. Economic strains? Well, the economy is so shit because Obama is a shit president. $800 billion for a stimulus that quite frankly didn't work. Puerto Ricans who can't speak English qualify as disabled, not to mention a $250,000 prayer room for Muslims in an international Florida airport. Absolute shit decisions economically, but I don't want to get into that. Finding alone time becomes a major challenge when you have kids. It's tough because having kids is an extra 24/7 job, especially if you have a job outside the home, in addition to your kids, says Elizabeth Lombardo, PhD psychologist and author of Better Than Perfect. It's a constant responsibility both when you're home and even if the kids are at school, buying groceries, etc. Lombardo says making time for yourself enables you to focus on your own application of values and activities that you enjoy. If you don't have time for yourself, you end up losing yourself, especially stay-at-home moms who often find their purpose in raising their children once they leave the house and this purpose is no longer there. This could lead to depression. Basically, fucking god damn it!
What? What?
Nothing.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
What do you mean, nothing? Here.
Where was I? Basically, the answer is homeschooling, and I'm dead serious about that. There was something in Yahoo News about a homeschooled British Nigerian genius student seeking out college. I looked it up on Google just to be sure. Homeschooled 10-year-old is now a college student. I guess this video is long enough, so I just want to end this with liberal arguments are a lot like transabeled people. They're out there ready to be dismantled.